Alright, so you've seen the trailer, so you're probably wondering, what's this about? Well, it's like what it says here. We're going to read through the Bible. So, this is basically what I'll be following. And I say basically because, again, I won't be using the Orthodox Study Bible. So, when they did the Orthodox Study Bible, for Proverbs, they, for whatever reason, rearranged it according to the Hebrew instead of just going in the Septuagint order. So, we'll be using the Brenton translation, which keeps everything in the Greek order. So there'll be some jumping around in Proverbs. Also, when you get to First John, these chapter breaks, I don't get a lot of them. They don't really make sense to me. So for First John, it'll just be one chapter a day, but it'll mostly just be following this. Oh, the other thing, we'll be doing the Epistle of Jeremiah after Lamentations. Yeah, so that'll be the first year, using the Brenton translation for the Old Testament, and then a King James Version for the New Testament. Now, one other deviation I have to mention. You'll notice on this reading plan, it goes through Psalms and Proverbs twice. I'm not going to be doing that. Once Psalms and Proverbs are finished, that part will be taken up first by 4th Maccabees, and then by 2nd Esdras. So, there will be about 150 days where it'll just be this column and this column once we get through 4th Maccabees and 2nd Esdras. Alright, so now you're wondering, why are you using the Brenton translation of the Septuagint and the King James Version instead of just using the Orthodox Study Bible? Why would you pick those two? Well, I'm delighted you asked. Very important reason. They're public domain. I know there's still like a crown copyright in the United Kingdom for the KJV, but it's public domain everywhere else, so I think I should be okay with that. Additionally, as I put in the trailer, the King James Bible is the most important and popular book in the history of the English language. I mean, you don't have to like that, but it is. The three most influential things in the English language, at least modern English, have been the KJV, the Plays of Shakespeare, and Book of Common Prayer. So, big reason, it just sounds like the Bible. We know when we think of what the Bible should sound like, still, lots of people think King James Version. Okay, so that's another reason we'll be using that. I can't believe I forgot to mention this, but the whole reason I'm doing the KJV Old Testament too is so that we can get a comparison of the Greek and Hebrew versions of the Old Testament. I can't believe I forgot to include that very important detail. My bad. Now then, as for year 2, I'll be keeping basically this same approach, but since we already did the King James New Testament, we won't be doing it again the second year. It'll start up like this, the Old Testament, and then Psalms and Proverbs. But instead of doing it in the order listed here, which follows the Orthodox Study Bible, we'll just be doing it in the regular King James order as they appear in that book. So they'll be skipping around a bit on this because there's some slight differences in the arrangement between the Greek order and Hebrew, or not even Hebrew, or the traditional English order. So, also, for when we do the King James Version of Old Testament and Apocrypha, we'll go straight through what the KJV has as the Old Testament, and then we'll be doing the KJV quote-unquote Apocrypha, the Deuterocanonical books, afterwards. So that's how that's going to work. So they won't be, again, in the order listed here, because in the Greek order, the Deuterocanonicals are interspersed with the rest of the Old Testament rather than at the end. Also, when we do the KJV Deuterocanonicals, we won't be doing 2nd Esdras because we did it in the first year after 4th Maccabees. So why am I even including 4th Maccabees and 2nd Esdras when they're not canonical? Well, because they are included in appendices. In the Greek Church, 4th Maccabees is appendix, and in Slavonic traditions, the 2nd Esdras is in the appendix. I know some of you might be more biblically minded and say, but Spencer, in the Slavonic tradition, 2nd Esdras only consists of what in English Bibles is chapters 3 through 14. So are you just only going to do those chapters? No, I'm going to do all the chapters because even though those chapters are only in Latin tradition, you can find Second Esdras in the appendix of the Latin Vulgate as early as the 9th century. I know it's more common after the 13th century, but it was in there earlier. And in the 9th century, Rome was still Orthodox. Yes, I know some of the local churches were still saying the Filioque as early as then, but Rome wasn't and was still actively teaching that the procession of the Holy Spirit eternally is from the Father only. So since that it was in there while Rome was still Orthodox, I'm going to do those 4 chapters right where they are in the English version. But I won't be including several verses that were recently discovered that aren't in most manuscripts. If you're interested, I can link you to them, but since they haven't really been received as part of the broader tradition of Second Esdras, I won't be including them. And also, since there's not a public domain translation that I'm aware of, I'm not going to be including them. It's just what's in the KJV. Alright, so now you're wondering, okay, Spencer, why were you doing both the Brenton Deuterocanonicals and KJV Deuterocanonicals? Well, because I think the KJV is a better translation. So that's why I'll be doing both. Alright, so that's how it's going to work. Also, a couple things I will note. It's not just going to be totally audio. If you just want to listen to the audio, that's fine. But because we'll be doing the Brenton Old Testament initially and the KJV for the New Testament, they anglicized the Greek names. So that's not the versions we're used to for a lot of Old Testament figures. So I'll be putting the anglicized Hebrew versions, the ones we're used to, on screen in the actual readings. I won't be changing them in the readings, but I will put them on a card, so you'll be able to see that, for example, Nabucodonosor is Nebuchadnezzar. Okay. Oh yes, one minor thing. In Brenton's translation, he has an appendix of verses that were found in the Complutensian text, but not in the Vatican or Alexandrian manuscripts. And then also verses that weren't in the Vatican manuscript, but were in the Alexandrian manuscript. He put those in an appendix instead of just integrating them into the main text. But I'm going to make things easy on everybody and just put those in the main text where they actually go. Oh, and also, when it comes to the New Testament, and it quotes the Old Testament, I'll be putting the Old Testament verse references on screen, so you can go look them up. Only for actual quotes, though, not just references, because that would be a lot. Yeah, only direct quotes. Also, if there's any case where the KJV English is really hard to understand, I'll be putting like a summary explaining it in modern day terms as well. Alright, that should be it. Alright, so now that I've explained this, get ready for January 1st, 2023, when we do Genesis 1 through 3, Psalms 1 and 2, Proverbs 1, 1 through 5, and Matthew 1. See you then.